feel.
You could have made a lot more money than you actually did, couldn't you? Because you signed away half the rights.
Well,
why did you do that?
Because I was like a lot of other 16-year-old kids walking down the street who've got nothing and want to achieve something, want to be kind of famous. And when I was a kid, same as Mike in our band, who was really the only other songwriter when I came to the Moody's, me and Mike. And we both signed contracts when we were kids that were very poor contracts you'd never get away with nowadays, and that took away the rights to the songs that we wrote for the next 8 years, as it happened. And separately we signed, but I mean they were the same kind of contract. But so did a lot of young kids, and I think the business will always be like that when there's
taking advantage of the young people.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is. I mean, yeah, sure. I think that there'll always be a young kid walking down the street with a song or sign anything just to get it on the radio.
You were very young when you wanted to be a pop star, weren't you? 9 years old. Do you remember any of the tunes you used to play then?
Oh, sure. I mean, I started singing in church, and then because I come from a family with a very strong faith, and then I found out I loved music then. Then I went towards records. I inherited my granddad's collection of old 78s. And I really, that was opened a whole kind of world of imagination to me. And then...
Give me a taste of the kind of thing you used to play.
Well, when I was a kid, really, when I heard Buddy Holly, that was it for me. Then I could identify what I wanted, and there was and this nice. Well, that'll be the day. As soon as I heard that, you know, oh, this is it. It's the world I want to live in.
What did your parents think?
My parents were actually both teachers, and for the time very enlightened, sort of new age people in their own way, and enlightened thinking, very literate people. And they always encouraged me and my brother and my sister to do whatever we wanted, and they were very encouraging. And
you needed that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because God knows it was a difficult business to get into.
Well, you needed somebody to go guarantor on your amplifier for the music shop, you know, on your hire purchase agreement. So, yeah, you did need encouraging. And so many other kids gave up the business because, you know, pressure of girlfriend or pressure of parents. And I often meet people now, and I think, though I played with them when I was a kid, and think they really could have done it if they'd have just stuck to it. But it's having the desire to do it.
Well, you went and did it. So how did you actually get your first job, the first gig? Do you remember that?
Well, yeah. The first gigs that I did were in socials and in church halls around Swindon, where I was brought up.
Were you nervous?
Not really. No.
Never mind the crowds
rubbish
out there.
Never mind there wasn't crowds. I don't think. There was a few other school kids and stuff like that, and but I had no sense of a performance or anything like that. It was very much, you know, that.
Hope they don't hear.
So yes, hope they don't hear.
The corner.
We were just playing for ourselves, and then it was like years later, even after I'd been in the Moody's, years and years, it suddenly dawned on me that I was required to do something more than just stand there and sing. But yeah, so...
You joined the Moody Blues in '66.
Yes, that's right.
Which was the big move, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I mean, I was with Marty Wilde for 2 years. That was great for me. And then I joined the Moody's. They'd heard some of my songs, and I had a call from Mike Pinder, the keyboard player, and said, you know, we're putting the whole thing together, and that's you want to come up and meet some of the other guys that are involved.
First song you played? Remember that? First bars you strummed?
Actually,
the Moody Blues?
Well, actually, because they liked a song of mine. That was how it happened. It was a song called Fly Me High. Well, I'm up to the eyes and I love everyone. Take to the sky, take to the sun. Something like that. Anyway, actually,
you've got no trouble remembering it.
Well, I did just then, but Radio 1 used that as a link for quite a long time. Yeah.
What was the low point when you were starting? Because when the 2 or 3 out there became crowds, you put your head on a block, you have to expect that people are going to chop it off, and they do, don't they? There was a man who knocked on your dressing room door, wasn't there? And said some rather unpleasant things. Yes,
there's a story that I can remember just like it was yesterday, really. because we were trying to do a rhythm and blues act with our blue suits on and being very serious. I mean, we never smiled until about 1974, and but it didn't suit our personalities at all. It wasn't in us really, and I wasn't very good at singing rhythm and blues. But anyway, we were doing this, and until we found ourselves, we were doing this R&B act, and we ended up in Cabaret, and we were at the Fiesta Stockton, lucky to get some work actually. And we were at the place called the Fiesta in Stockton, and we just finished on Saturday night, and there was a knock on the dressing room door, and this guy came in. We thought he was going to ask for an autograph or something like that, and he said, yes, and he said, oh, I've got to tell you, he said, you're the worst band I've ever seen in my life. He said, you're bloody rubbish.
He said a bit more than that, didn't he?
Yeah,
You censored it for television.
Yeah, well, yeah. But he said, I come out every Saturday night with my wife. He said, and it cost me £12.10, he said, for a night out for the two of us. And he said, and you're crap. He said, and somebody ought to tell you. And so there was just silence.
On the way home, nobody said anything.
That night, coming out and packing up the gear, and then we were on our way home in our transit van, and Graham, our drummer, used to sleep on the mellotrons, this keyboard we used to have up the back of this transit. And halfway home, we got to about Scotch Corner, and there's a little voice from the back, and it was Graham, and he's saying, he's right, that bloke, crap.
So a bit of soul searching.
Yeah, and really the next day, we threw away the old blue suits and just started doing our own songs.
Started smiling.
Yeah, and that was the turning point for us. Our own songs were the turning point, really, doing that.
You played in America, you played at Madison Square Gardens, and you got a golden ticket, didn't you? One of the largest the largest audiences ever?
Yeah,
a live concert?
Yeah, we
It's been a big thrill.
Yes, it was. We worked for a long time in America. We were brought over there in 1968 by a psychedelic promoter, and we were everybody's support band for years and years and playing a lot of clubs. And then in the early 70s we started to headline the acts, and we were one of the few groups that really did make it big in America, a few British groups. And I don't know why there aren't more British groups, but that's the way it is. But it's a cultural thing, I suppose.
What went down well in America? I mean, what kind of routines? I mean, you get up on stage, what would you play? What would be the first thing?
We had a song, our first real hit was a song called Tuesday Afternoon. It was on our first album. And I also had a little dog called Tuesday as well. I used to call her like so. Tuesday afternoon, I'm just beginning to it doesn't matter to me, chasing the clouds away. That was the first one, really, for the American audience.
The crowds occasionally threw some strange things, didn't they?
Well, during this, in the 60s in America, you never knew what was going to end up on stage, from people, you know, raving hippies or you know, beautiful girls dancing to whatever.
So it wasn't all hardship.
Joints, and all that kind of stuff. A few drugs came up on stage, and the guy even threw his false leg on stage, which is another story.
And you got plagued by beetles, didn't you, when you played in the open air? There was one that actually flew into your ear.
Well,